Hi, Hannah. Lovely to see you. To meeting with me today for your performance management review. How was your holiday in Cornwall?
Hi. Yeah, it was great. Thanks. Really good to get out of London actually after lockdown, and I got to spend some time with my friends and family. So yeah, it was nice. But funny, in Cornwall, they really weren't doing a lot of social distancing or wearing masks. So we just kind of stayed in, and we were staying got like a nice little Airbnb, so we just stayed there most of the time. But yeah, no, it was really nice. Thanks.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear you had a good break. And yeah, I know what you mean. It's nice to get out of London, even if we can't get out of the country at this point. So welcome to your first annual performance management review here at netporter.com. I know you've been here for a year now, which is very exciting. And I want to say up front, thank you for agreeing to do this meeting via Microsoft Teams. I know it's not exactly how things like this are usually done, but as you know, our current company policy is to conduct all meetings virtually where possible due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, no, of course, that makes perfect sense.
Thanks for understanding, and thank you for completing the self-assessment form. Just so you're aware, I know in most organisations actually line managers do the performance reviews, but here at netporter.com, the kind of more senior members of staff really like to take an interest in the development of the team. So it is actually part of my role to do the appraisals of all the warehouse operatives and have input in from line managers and team leaders. And just so you know, everything we discuss here will be handled with the utmost sensitivity and confidentiality where appropriate, and all data will be stored in accordance with GDPR 2018.
Thanks for explaining. Yeah, no, I understand. I think it will be good actually to have the opportunity to discuss my development with someone other than my line manager.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. As this is your first performance management review here at netporter.com, I just want to be clear on the aims and the objectives of this session. So, as you know, when you passed your 3-month probation period 9 months ago, we set you key performance indicators, or KPIs, which were linked to the overall corporate strategic goals. So we're going to use this time and space to see how you've been performing against these KPIs over the past 9 months. We'll also be discussing any future training or development opportunity and needs. We can maybe think about any appropriate learning events or self-directed activities for you to be thinking about for the next few months.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for clarifying all of that.
Okay, so let's start. So I want you to tell me what the highlight of your year has been here at netporter.com.
Well, initially I found the set targets that we'd set, I found reaching them quite challenging, challenging both physically and mentally. But in month 9, I was really proud because I overshot the target by 4. And I think I was able to do this because I spent time getting to know the organisation's systems and building up my strength. I'm also happy that I've been able to improve my forklifting technique. And now I feel confident to move anything around the warehouse.
Yes, I agree. I think it was fantastic you were able to overshoot your targets. And I'm glad you've been able to invest time in learning all about the systems here at netporter.com. And I also agree, I've seen you actually use the forklift in the warehouse. You're very skilled, very efficient, really well done. It's great. Generally, your performance was steadily improving over the last 6 months. But recently, there seems to be a bit of a plateau, which has actually resulted in a performance gap. So what you actually achieved was fell short of the targets in both month 10 and 11. If you had to pinpoint the cause of this plateau, what would it be?
Well, in month 10, there was a change in how you access the instructions from the scanner. And to be honest, I've been a bit finding it really hard to get to grips with it. So I think that has really slowed me down. And that's probably why I've not been able to keep improving.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I actually was responsible for implementing this change because it means we're now following best practice as set out by the Institute for Logistics, which actually I'm a member of. So one of my goals for the next year is to bring all of our warehouse processes at netporter.com more in line with best practice, just like I did in John Lewis and at Argos. This is the key way to ensure things run as smoothly as possible and we're working as efficiently as possible. We did actually run a training session on this new system. Were you able to attend?
No, unfortunately I was unwell, so I couldn't attend, and then I guess I just never found time to catch up.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear you haven't actually been well. But while we're on this topic, I'm looking at your record. For the past year, you've had 8 absences, which is quite a lot higher than the national average, which is 4.4 days. So the reason I bring it up is because they're all 2-day absences and at a similar time of month. Just so you know, kind of short absences are the most disruptive to us because it means that we don't actually know that they're going to happen, and then we have to cover the time very, very short notice, and often means there's like a lack of capacity. But I also see from your personnel folder there weren't any return to work interviews with team leaders upon your return. Could you talk about maybe what the result of the, like, why you weren't able to come into work, and if there's anything we can do as an organisation to support you and hopefully lessen the number of absences in the future?
Well, basically I have endometriosis, and it causes very bad pain for 2 days a month, and that's often exacerbated if I have to be on my feet all day. So honestly, I do try to fight through the pain, but sometimes it's just too much. So yeah, I mean, my line manager never asked if I had any health conditions, so I guess I didn't know if it was appropriate to tell him.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for telling me. I really appreciate your honesty. But I suppose there could be quite a simple solution, because if it's being on your feet, that's the issue. We could look into kind of allocating you onto packing, so you'd be sitting down on those days. So I can speak to the team leaders about allocating you those shifts. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you. Thank you so much for thinking of that adjustment.
You're welcome. Hopefully we can find a solution which works for you, your health, and the business. And we also need to make sure you do catch up on those instructions training, so that you don't continue to fall behind or plateau. Because actually currently you are the lowest performing team member looking at your KPIs. And this is going to become even more of a problem, because I am actually planning on increasing our targets to be in line with industry standards from the Institute of Logistics. What do you think about that, and how do you feel about having to work to an increased quota?
Oh, a bit apprehensive if I'm honest. Well, I have improved my skills with the forklift, but I don't feel as confident using the pump truck or the power pallet truck, and I know these are vital to hitting both the inbound and outbound targets.
Okay, well, that's good that you kind of identified that need to improve. Do you think there are any possible options for ways to develop your skills? Do you think you would need kind of a formal training course, like maybe a refresher course, or would help from colleagues be enough?
Well, I did speak to a colleague actually who offered to mentor me, but the problem is we don't really have very many shifts where we're like both working. We don't have many shifts together.
Okay, well, that's good that you have a colleague that's offered who's willing to do it. I know that we do peer mentoring here, for some of the hard skills. So I'll make a note to speak to your team leader, and in turn speak to the colleague as well about arranging a mentoring situation, and to ensure you're at least on some shifts together, and hopefully that will over time improve your skills. So we'll try and get that done quite quickly, because I'm looking at introducing the higher targets in about October.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thank you for that.
Cool. So I just want to do a bit of a recap. So far in our discussion, we've obviously talked about, we've identified some areas that you would like to develop, but other areas where you're happy with your level of confidence. The recent performance issues can be put down to the lack of training on the new system, which can be easily remedied by me getting in touch with the L&D department and making sure that you do that ASAP. You're generally confident about your ability to hit our current targets. If they were raised, as we're planning to do in October, you would require some peer mentoring, which we are going to arrange. Is this a fair summary? And would you like to add anything more before we move on?
Yeah, I think that all sounds about right. Yeah, thank you for looking into adjusting things for a medical condition. To be honest, I think that will really improve my quality of life, as well as the quality of my work. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll speak to your team leader and we can go from there. Now let's move on. So my understanding is from a personnel field, you have also been subject of a grievance from a fellow team member in regard to being overly aggressive on a number of occasions, but that I understand that's now been resolved. Can you please tell me a bit about this situation and how you're feeling about it now?
Well, basically, the results were because there were multiple misunderstandings over the division of work, and I felt like I was having to take on the majority of it. So, yeah, I mean, it was really frustrating. And the thing is, it's really difficult to communicate when you're on the floor of the warehouse because it's so noisy. But yeah, I guess you're right. I explained my aggression had been frustration, and yeah, things have been getting better since then. And to be honest, I think they were also frustrated.
Okay, well, I'm glad it's been resolved. Have you thought of any ways of avoiding a situation like this happening in the future?
Well, yeah, actually, so I was thinking that there should be more opportunities to discuss the work that needs to be done on shift away from the floor of the warehouse. So actually, I was thinking maybe I could ask the team leader to institute a brief huddle as part of our break, to discuss like who's doing what.
I think that sounds like a great idea. And yeah, I really would encourage you to go to your team leader with that. Another way to create good working relationships is to socialize outside of work. But your records show you haven't attended any social or corporate responsibility event. How do you feel about socializing with the team in a work context?
Well, the thing is, so I don't like to attend these events because they always serve alcohol. But I was thinking of maybe doing a fundraising event for the charity that I support called the Faith and Belief Forum. But I kind of feel like I lack confidence to go ahead with it.
Oh, okay. I do understand not wanting to be events with alcohol, but I definitely think you should do a fundraiser. And it will also show that not all work events have to be focused on alcohol. I think that's a really positive message for the team. And I think if you let your colleague know about this charity, about what they do, and about what you want to raise money for, I think they'd be more than happy to pitch in.
Okay, well, I'll do it. I'll do it then. Thanks. Thanks for the encouragement.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hopefully this will show another side of me to my team members and will really help me to build better relationships with them.
I'm glad to hear it. Well, this shouldn't just be about your KPIs. We can use this as an opportunity to talk about any future opportunities. What do you see as your future at netporter.com?
Well, eventually I do want to be promoted to team leader. Actually I think I'm ready and I think I have a lot to offer.
I'm excited to hear you see your future at netporter.com. What do you think you can do to help make sure you get there? How do you think you can develop?
Well, I think a key thing is that I need to be able to show myself as someone who can lead a team to success, but I'm not sure how I can do it within the confines of my job and the pressure to hit targets.
Well, I think you've already come up with two very good examples of things you can do outside of the remit of your job. So if you lead on the running the huddles at break times and you put on a corporate responsibility event, I'm sure that your team will start to see you not just as someone who does their job, but someone that can potentially lead them. So I think that can be very helpful. So I think what we can do now as the session comes to a close is kind of form these things we've talked about into smart objectives, which can sit alongside your KPIs. What do you think those objectives would be?
So I think they would be the following. 1, complete a training on how to access the new instructions ASAP. 2, undertake a mentoring program to improve pump truck and power pallet truck to improve my performance in time for the new targets to be introduced in October. 3, leading on the implementation of a new huddle during break time so the team can share what they're working on and divide up tasks. And 4, arranging an alcohol-free fundraising event as part of the company's corporate responsibility strategy by December.
Great. That sounds really good. That sounds really good. Well done.
Cool. So I'll bring those to my monthly one-to-ones with the team leader and track my progress.
Amazing. So my action points are to speak to the team leader about you being put on packing duty for a couple of days a month to help with your health condition, and you can speak to them about that as well. Flag with the L&D department you need to complete the new instructions training ASAP, and to speak to the team leader and your colleague about the mentoring and being put on the same shifts. Do you have any questions before we finish?
No, that all sounds great. Thanks so much for all your support.
You're welcome.
Thanks.